Good morning. As Eric said, I'm here to talk about my farm, industry that's near and dear to my heart, the pork industry. I did grow up in dairy, so agriculture has been part of my life all along. Ag business background from college, and also some years that my husband and I worked in agricultural research before coming back to his family operation. So this is a picture of the third generation farm that we utilize in our operation. This is where the hog production takes place. House is right up there in the corner behind the farm shop, so the house sits right in amongst the buildings. One of the changes that have taken place over the years is the housing. We used to have the sows or the mother pigs outside, so I used to have sows 50 feet from my kitchen window. And, then it became a lot for some beef calves that were 4-H and FFA projects for my kids. But we also utilize a fifth generation farm where my father and my in-laws live, and that one has been in the family since the Richter relatives came over from Germany and settled the area. So other than a Civil War widow's name on a portion of that farm on that deed, it has been in our family since the area was settled. So sustainability is day-to-day ingrained. The keeping that that farm in the family, ongoing, always looking at future generations. As I said, I grew up in dairy. One of the questions I think was this morning's panel as we started the day was looking at, antibiotic and how it touches day to day. I remember growing up and the daily milk samples being taken, with the trucker taking the milk samples back to the plant, testing for antibiotics. That's responsible use has been part of my life since knee-high to a grasshopper. So, it's multi-generational farms. It's ingrained in us. Sustainability, responsibility. This is my family. My children are third generation on the farm we live on, fifth generation on the farm we utilize in the cropping enterprise, and looking forward to the next generation down the road. So day in, day out, it's what we do. Have gone through the realm of the certification programs over the years, developed by the National Pork Board and our checkoff dollars, and answering, the requirements of our packers and our customers and consumers out there. I said it's ingrained in us. It's inherent common sense to responsibility. I get so frustrated, when people have the opinion that we're giving antibiotics daily because it's an expense. Everything that we do is sustainability and trying to do more with less day after day after day after day for decades upon decades, because the prices we are getting today are the same as they were 25 years ago. Per pound and per bushel, things like that. So, and it all goes together. The manure from our hogs is a sustainable fertilizer. We utilize that to nourish the crops that we use for feed and sell, per bushel, the income that family relies on. Farm economy is stressed. We've added off-farm income, and my husband's also a seed sales rep. So Joan talked about the smart seed and the innovation and the technologies that utilize and become part of our everyday. Biosecurity. Going into those barns, you see me in a coverall. We have barn-specific coveralls, barn-specific boots. The biosecurity changes that we have brought into the operation over the years, moving those animals indoors so you're protecting them from the elements, you can control the environment, protecting them from outside diseases, things like that. I've been through an airport now. I'll go home, I'll wear a mask in the barn because I don't know what, if I picked up been exposed to a virus or a bacterial, I don't want to take a respiratory virus or anything back to my pigs. I was overseas last month. I waited, the extra 5 to 7 days. That's our protocol on our farm, before going back into the livestock. And so all of these things, the barn-specific clothes, shower in, shower out, visitor logs, all of those are daily steps that we take to protect the health of our livestock, to save us money, because if they do become ill, antibiotics are an extra production expense, so we strive to not have to use them. Every step that we take in biosecurity helps us to keep our animals healthy, and a healthy animal is a comfortable animal, is a productive animal. Vaccination programs play into our health protocols for animals. Vaccination against diseases, pneumonias, things like that help us also to decrease our antibiotic use. The biggest one was moving our animals inside when they're not dealing with having to fight off the elements and respiratory issues because of not being able to regulate that air quality in outside housing and humidity, things like that have all been steps. And it's frustrating to me because I've had comments as I go out to speak to civic groups and people who are, 2 generations removed from the farm and remember going back and visiting Grandma and Grandpa, and it's like, well, why can't you guys just do what you did back in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s? And it's just, but you don't realize that moving those animals indoors, housing them indoors, hogs don't have much of a haircut. They don't like this weather in Minnesota. They don't like this weather in Missouri or Kansas either. But I just said you don't realize how much better it is for the animal. Everything we do focuses around that care and health and comfort of the animal. So we do all this because we're producing food. The food I produce on my farm, I serve to my family. I'm proud to serve it to my family, and I'm proud to serve it to your family and to families around the globe. And why am I proud? Why am I confident in the products that I'm growing and the crops that I'm growing and feeding to our pigs and the pork products that result from raising those animals? It's because of the steps, the innovation, the evolving processes, the biosecurity, the technology that we have incorporated over the years. Talked about controlling that environment in the barns. We can control that airflow. Pigs don't like to sweat, or they can't sweat, so that to be comfortable we use misters or we use fans to keep them comfortable. The shade helps so that they're not, they're inside, so they're not getting sunburnt, things like that. And all of these steps over the years, a faster growing animal, an animal requiring less treatments, all of these steps all play into that safe, abundant, and affordable food supply for here at home and around the globe. So, continuous improvements. I grew up in 4-H and FFA. The words from the mottos and the creeds have stuck in my mind over the years. 4-H, making the best better. FFA, better days through better ways. Those are all things. One, again, that ingrained drive and passion for what we do, and always looking to improve and become more efficient, not only economically, but as we look at aging farm populations, we look for better ways to do things, more efficient and better for that animal, better for us and those working in the barns. Things that frustrate me, the challenges that we face, and the fears that I have of continuous improvements in that, but there's so many perceptions out there, consumer misperceptions, and the myths that have multiplied over the years because of being so many generations removed, only 2% of us left to try and share, and not many opportunities like this to be able to come and tell you what we do every day on the farm. It has all led to a consumer lack of confidence in science and technology. The GMOs that Joan referenced, I use them on my farm because we can have fewer times across the field, less chemicals going on, more efficiently, higher, be more efficient, higher yields. We rely on that. And we rely on the science that has backed that up before those products have been brought and continues to be proven, that these products and these methods that we're using are better. And that's the confidence that I have. But, it's how do 2% of the people and the producers and the few of us that do go out and speak to others, how do we overcome those myths and those misperceptions? The rules for livestock, we've talked about the VFDs, the veterinary feed directives, and the changes that has brought across the animal food production realm. I found it very frustrating, but very ironic that when that rule went into effect, we also started a new health insurance plan. And for the last 6 months, I have served on the board. This health insurance plan is through a new cooperative. It's an health insurance cooperative for farmers and their employees. Kind of a trial run in Minnesota, first state to look at this. But at the same time that I've got more guidelines, more paperwork, more records to keep, my veterinarian has to have more staff to deal with the record keeping, my feed mill, things like that. The insurance company is pushing us to don't go to urgent care. We can save money and don't go to the emergency room on a weekend. Call this 800 number. You'll talk to a doctor and they can prescribe an antibiotic for you right over the phone. And so we've got this conflicting circle. I've got this on the one hand, of extra rules here, and an 800 number to call over here. The One Health initiative is action by everyone, and we can't have all of this give here and more take over here. So also had 2 weeks ago spoke to a family and consumer foods class, science foods classes in a pretty affluent suburb of the Twin Cities. And you talked about the One Health initiative and used a slide from the CDC with, the sniffle, sneeze, no antibiotics, please. And more than 250 kids, even the instructors, when I posed the question, okay, so you're sniffling, you're sneezing, why not antibiotics right away? Not a single one of them understood that antibiotics do not work on viruses, and a cold is a virus. So we have so much more to do in the entire realm. And every meeting I go back to that insurance board, and there's only 3 livestock producers on there that are feeling the same frustration as I am, that we can't increase rules here and decrease rules over here. It's a One Health plan and multifaceted plan to reach a goal. And the frustration that I have with science, that lack of confidence in science becoming a 4-letter word over the last several years is a frustration and a very, very big fear as a livestock producer. Foreign animal diseases, lack of large animal vets. I'm fortunate, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, we do have a good number of clinics, but I've got friends in other parts of the country that, to find a veterinarian who specializes in swine, they've got to call back to northern Iowa or southern Minnesota. They've got to send lab samples to to the Midwest to have diagnosis done and know what they're dealing with and know how to treat and care for their animals in instances. So lack of funding for public research, that's a challenge and a fear, so that we can keep the continuous improvements and access to information to help us to continue what we do day in and day out, and to keep tools in the toolbox. And then the ever-growing population being so much more continue to be further and further removed from agriculture, and the simple, well, we can just do this, but then not seeing the unforeseen circumstances, the be careful of what you ask for concept of, we take these tools away, what are we going to compromise on food safety? What are we, the reason we're all here today. So those are the fears that, as a pork producer, as a livestock producer, as a producer of food, worry about day in and day out. So, thank you.